I wake up, and as we all do when we wake up, right? We immediately flop over and we look on Twitter. So I'm looking on Twitter, right? And then someone, says like, whoa, did you see Sam Seder expose Force the Vote? So I'm like, okay, so I'm scrolling through, right? Keep in mind, I'm barely awake. My right eyeball is kind of like caked shut. You got the like dust in your eyeball. So it's like my right eyeball is caked shut. Like I'm like, oh, what's going on here? I'm browsing Twitter. Oh, that's me, right? And then so I finally stumble upon Sam Seder going in on Twitter. And I just want to say I love when Sam Seder goes in on Twitter. It's really funny. So basically, Jimmy Dore tweets this garbage. Which, by the way, currently has more quote tweets compared to retweets. So, oops, Jimmy. You kind of let the mask slip a little bit too much on that one. Whoopsie daisy, right? Whoopsie, my bad. Or I guess you're bad in that sense. So Jimmy Dore, just basically starts making fun of him. Or rather, Sam Seder starts making fun of him. And it's really great. I love Sam. And so he starts going out with hashtag fraudpod, which I think is really funny. Also, now all of a sudden Bree is trending. I'm just gonna have to do this. I can't look at trending right now. But anyway, so we're getting pretty funny. We're getting pretty dramatic. This is 11 hours ago. So this happened like last night. But I go to sleep at like 10 p.m. because I'm a normal person. I'm socially well adjusted, right? Unlike Sam Seder, apparently, who's staying up late doing 3-hour like interviews or debates with people. Like he's ignoring his children for 3 hours straight. That's a little bizarre. But anyway, so we move up, and Sam Seder says, "We partner with the armed libertarians, violently overthrow the government, usher in a new age of feudalism, force the vote in each of our lord fiefdoms, and then force the vote." Now I get it. Really funny. Again. The force the vote thing, like literally, it's a conspiracy theory network. It's the same thing as QAnon. Now, it's not as fully fledged as QAnon, and if you want to hear me go into that a little bit more, I covered actually how Q and Stop the Steal and Force the Vote are basically the same thing. I made a video about that maybe a couple weeks ago. So if you want to listen to me talk about that a little bit more in depth, feel free. But again, so then here we get to the tweet that really sparked some outrage. So this is the one. So Sam Seder's on a multi-hour tweet storm, like, again, 11 hours ago, 10 hours ago, 9 hours ago. So Samuel Lincoln is currently in his bedroom, or at this moment, probably puffing away on some Sunset Lake CBD, getting really into Twitter for some reason, neglecting his children for 3 hours. And so then he tweets this. "To recap, I was yelled at for 3 hours for thinking that the leader of Force the Vote, Jimmy Dore, saying AOC is the reason we don't have Medicare for all was unhelpful. And in that very moment, he was praising an armed right-wing militiaman who wants to destroy the government, which does Medicare for all. Hashtag pod fraud." Again, really, 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 really funny. So again, this tweet sparked a lot of outrage. There was some rage that was sparked from this tweet, and that rage was in fact out. Could have been in, but people decided to bring it out, so there was some outrage. That's the etymology of that word, is just rage this out. So Brianna Joy Gray responds, and again, she is, like I said, now, I want to say, everyone, I covered half of the Force the Vote debate last night. I'm going to do the other half tonight. People requested that I go through it and just kind of like expose all the dumb shit. And yeah, sure, Sam says some like really like silly stuff, but like at the same time, if Sam has this like long-winded way of speaking, and so Bree just cutting him off like every 15 seconds, yeah, sure, he's gonna stumble a little bit if that's the case. But I'm covering this whole thing. Bree is a very well-trained media operative. She knows how to manipulate people, and she does it very, very easily. One of the things that was pointed out in the chat room last night was that she uses the phraseology of, "if I can just get this sentence out," or "if you'll let me speak," and she precedes a lot of her sentences with that, even though Sam isn't really interrupting her any more than she's interrupting him. But she will precede a lot of her sentences with that, and that kind of tricks people's brains into thinking, whoa, right? Like, okay, interesting. So I guess Sam Seder's yelling at her. If she's struggling to get this sentence out that she's not struggling whatsoever to get out right now, then clearly that means Sam is a bully. Right, so she responds with, "It was sincerely a pleasure to have you on. I'm sorry if my tone offended you." So this is gaslighting, is what this is. Again, it's all about like, oh, Jimmy Dore is angry. Oh, Jimmy Dore is far left because he's so angry. Reminder, Brianna Joy Gray called Jimmy Dore an anarchist. Right now, look at Jimmy Dore's tweet. Radicalized Michigan anarchist seeks unity with the left. So Bree, in the Force the Vote debate, referred to Jimmy Dore personally as an anarchist several times. I tracked it twice, and I only watched half of the debate so far. So... okay, so Bree is calling Jimmy an anarchist. Jimmy is calling a right-wing boogaloo boy an anarchist. So, okay, Bree is saying Jimmy's an anarchist, but not Jimmy's an anarchist in these people's minds. These people go like, oh, Jimmy's far-left anarchist. So then they watch Jimmy Dore's show, and then they go, oh, Jimmy Dore's an anarchist. He's calling the boogaloos an anarchist. Therefore, now I know what anarchism is. Well, I've got a little... definition of anarchism here from the Anarchist Library, and I want to read this part. This is, a really long description, but I want to read this part. This is what anarchism is defined as. Anarchism promotes mutual aid, harmony, and human solidarity to achieve a free, classless society, a cooperative commonwealth. Anarchism is both a theory and a practice of life. Philosophically, it aims for perfect accord between the individual, society, and nature. In an anarchist society, mutually respectful, sovereign individuals would be organized in a non-coercive relationships within naturally defined communities in which the means of production and distribution are held in common. So, anarchism is literally defined as an egalitarian society, right? And Jimmy Dore is going out there talking about how right-wing boogaloo boys who are spawned from white supremacists are anarchists. You cannot be an anarchist if you hate non-white people. I'm sorry. It's just impossible. Okay, so Brianna Joy Gray calls Jimmy an anarchist, and then is using this moment, oh, Sam Seder's bringing me up again. Well, let's advertise my show. So it's like, so Brianna Joy Gray is going out here saying, oh, I'm sorry if my tone offended you. Reminder, Sam Seder's whole argument, and my whole argument as well, is that it's not Jimmy Dore's tone that's the problem. It's when he says dumb fuck bullshit. That's the problem. When you go out there and use words incorrectly like a dumb motherfucker, I'm gonna make fun of you. Like, it's like when Mike Lee goes on the fucking Senate floor and goes like, oh, the Constitution, oh! It's like, yeah, I'm gonna make fun of him because he doesn't know what the Constitution says. Like when Donald Trump goes out there and says, oh, the freedom and liberty. Like, this was Donald Trump. Here's a little clip I have in my sound drop folder. This is Donald Trump a week before the November 3rd election. Check it out.
Bottom line, the American dream, the great American dream versus being a socialist hellhole.
So what do those words mean? The great American dream? That's your pitch a week before the election? The great American dream? It doesn't mean anything, right? So again, when Brianna Joy Gray uses terminology like tone, she's gaslighting you into thinking, oh, it's about Jimmy's tone. He's angry. And she is defining anger as what far leftism is. She's defining Jimmy Dore as an anarchist, which is the furthest left political philosophy. And then Jimmy is deflecting the definition of anarchist to try to encapsulate the Boogaloo Boy movement. So she goes on, it's like, okay, I'm sorry if I offended you. Now watch my podcast.
The majority is not the majority of people who are voting.
Now, another thing is, so this clip here, right, is when Sam Seder's trying to describe the the speaker election process. And in that attempt to describe the process, Bree and Virgil cut him off before he can finish his point. So they clipped this and then said, oh, and they're, everyone, if you respond to this or look at the quote tweets or whatever, you'll see everyone who's like on their side, or if you look at the comments, right, you'll see everyone say that, oh, Sam Seder doesn't know what he's talking about. Oh, he didn't know. Well, it's like, okay. So you cut him off halfway through their description, and then you say, you didn't know. Oh, God, you just don't know. And then that makes Bree just look smart, even though she didn't say anything smart. She just cut Sam Seder off. Now, this is the same tactic that dumbfuck McGeezack's Nico House did in a debate with me. He asked me a question. I start off by saying, okay, well, it's not just this. It's actually this and some other things. He cuts me off halfway through my answer and then distributes a clip about how I don't know the definition of something. It's some very basic media bullshit. Like, Sam goes into this thinking, oh, this is a discussion among friends, right? Bree goes into this thinking, how do I profit from this? How do I set Sam Seder up? And how do I use his platform to advance my own interest? That's what Bree was going into this as, right? So you have to understand the difference of perspective there. And then you've got Ryan Knight. And Ryan Knight is just a hilarious user. I really, like, Ryan Knight is honestly, like, you know, I don't know. Ryan Knight kind of feels like the, I was going to use a Seinfeld analogy, but I feel like that's offensive to Seinfeld. But Ryan Knight's like one of those throwaway characters that doesn't mean anything, but like every time they're on screen, you laugh at them for being an idiot. Anyway, so Ryan Knight says, to recap, Bree Joy debated the merits of progressives in Congress taking a bolder approach and taking the fight to corporate Democrats on Medicare for All, since public sentiment and approval is on our side, while Sam Seder deflected the entire time like he is doing above. Okay, so, like, progressive politicians taking a bolder approach, what does that sound like? Oh, it's not about hating women. It's about ethics and games journalism. Oh, it's not about stealing the election. It's about election integrity. It's the same dumb fuck bullshit. Is they know what Jimmy Dore is doing. This is Jimmy Dore. He's trending today. He's trending today for this. Right? Sam Seder's point is that Jimmy Dore should not be the driver of the vehicle, because if he is, in that analogy, he's a drunk driver. Right? But Ryan Knight and Brianna Joy Gray are doing damage control. It's not about Jimmy Dore. I know your whole argument is that Jimmy Dore's a bad person, but it's not about Jimmy Dore. It's not about Jimmy Dore. Oh, it's not about Jimmy Dore. Oh my God, I know he's interviewing right-wing boogaloos and claiming that they're anarchists and he doesn't know what those words mean, but it's not about Jimmy Dore. Oh God, it's about, what do I say? Bolder approach. Yeah, that's right. It's not about segregation. It's not about racism. It's about, you know, making sure that they pay their fair share of taxes. That was the excuse for poll taxes. Oh, so it's not about racism. No. It's just we want them to pay their fair share. If you can't pay your tax, you don't vote. It's not about racism. What? No. It's not about that. No. It's not about stealing a democratically held election. No way. It's about election integrity. That's what their bait and switch is. Right? And that all culminates in this video here. And I'm going to watch this full thing on, you know, fast speed. But I'm going to watch this full thing in my next segment, and I'm going to try to explain to you everything as to why this is such a bad thing. This is just really bad. And these people are bad. They're just really bad people. And literally, Brianna Joy Gray's podcast was the most aptly named thing possible. And I want to tell you why she named her podcast Bad Faith. Because she's baking the critique into the name of the podcast and using it as a badge of honor, right? So when people don't think about that kind of stuff, again, I'm a media person. I know how the game is played. I'm not an operative. I was not trained. I'm autodidact, right? But these people are trained, and that gives them a certain skill set. Now, partially of what I'm in here, I know a little bit about that skill set. So when you call your podcast Bad Faith, and then someone says your podcast is acting in bad faith, your response is going to be, haha, look, they fell for the meme. Look, we called ourselves Bad Faith, and then they said we're Bad Faith. They fell for the meme. Guys, look, they fell for the meme. And that's a way to disengage people from being able to criticize them. That's why they called their show Bad Faith. So, with that being said, I want to transfer into going into the video, but I want to look at the comments first before I get into this. This is going to be a huge I mean, it's a 40-minute video, so I mean, you know, it'll take a while.